If you're going on a cruise, you might have heard this cruise tip even from me. When in port, consider staying on your cruise ship. However, I hate to admit it, but maybe I was wrong. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, in truth, I do sometimes stay on the cruise ship when it's in port. However, what I realized by so many people sharing this tip is there are circumstances when it could be a good idea to stay on the cruise ship, but many times you are going to want to get off. And in this video, I am going to share with you when and why, so that you're not disappointed if you do stay on the cruise ship and you don't miss out by not going to ports. And by the way, I am going to share with you a couple of things that nobody ever talks about. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, so to start with the obvious, visiting a destination by cruise ship is a convenient way to visit a new place. And after all, you're on a cruise, and part of the idea is the travel experience. And if you don't go into that cruise port of call, you do actually miss out. Now, if you're on a 7-day cruise and you have 3 cruise ports of call, this still does give you between 3 and 4 days that you can explore the cruise ship. And I do have a little bit of a tip. If you're in a cruise port of call, don't feel like you have to visit the entire day, but if you do not go out to that cruise port of call, you really could be missing out on a great experience. Number 2, now this is one that we do not talk about very often, and I think experienced cruisers know this, but this is definitely going to come as a surprise to many new cruisers, and it is that on these port days, oftentimes crew use this as an opportunity to do some maintenance around the cruise ship. So you might think, I'm going to have a relaxing time by the pool. They can actually close down the pool. Sometimes it happens, it is rare, but other than that, they might just be doing a little bit of maintenance. So you can maybe hear a little bit of noise as they're welding a certain part, maybe on the promenade deck, or maybe you'll smell a little bit of the varnish or some paint as they're touching up some different areas. And even if you plan on just sitting out and perhaps relaxing on your balcony, sometimes the day before you get to a cruise port of call, you're going to have a little note in your cabin, and it's going to say that they are going to be taking perhaps the morning, a couple of hours, and they are going to be washing the balcony, cabins, and the windows. So this is something to be aware of. By the way, if you've been on a cruise and you've had any of these things happen, please let me know your experiences down in the comments below, because I know that they are going to help others. Number 3, if you do not have a drink package, get off the ship because the drinks are often going to be cheaper. Now, if you're on a Mediterranean cruise, for example, you can go and eat and drink and have a glass of wine for a very reasonable price and really enjoy it. Now, if you're in the Caribbean, you can get a daiquiri, a pina colada, a bushwhacker, any of those local drinks, maybe even a local beer, even for as little as like $2 to $5, depending on the drink. So it really is worth it sometimes to consider getting off the cruise ship and enjoy a couple of hours at one of the local bars. Number 4, it's easy to get off the cruise ship. I think sometimes we think about the hassle that it might be to get off the cruise ship, but unless you're tendering, and I am going to talk about what that is in just a moment, especially for new cruisers. But if you're not tendering, your ship is going to dock and you are going to be able to walk straight off the cruise ship. Now, the only time that you can expect it to be kind of crowded is within that first half an hour or so when you dock. Some people are really in a rush to get off the cruise ship, but most of the time there's really no need to be. You can walk right off the cruise ship, and even to get back on, it really isn't something complicated. You can get on and off when you're in a cruise port of call. And likewise, perhaps you're in Alaska and maybe the weather's really good that day. Take advantage of going, because even if you return another year, maybe the weather is not going to be as good and you're not going to be able to do that same excursion. And it's the same thing if you're in the Caribbean. You just never know when itineraries change, and you want to take advantage of being able to visit and fully explore and enjoy that destination. As for tendering, it can be a little bit of a process, so make sure that you do allow a little bit of extra time to get off the cruise ship. Now, you won't be tendering in every port, but it can happen on occasion for some ports, including Grand Cayman in the Caribbean, some ports in Canada, New England, and even some Mediterranean ports. Plan ahead because you are going to need to line up to get some tender tickets, and then you may have to wait a little while until it is your turn to get on the tender. Typically, it's not very long, but you can plan for about a half an hour. Now, one thing that's actually nice about tendering that people don't typically talk about is the fact that it's a pretty good boat ride, and you can get some great pics and videos of the ship. Number 6, the variety of food. Now, if you've been on a cruise ship a few days, sometimes even though the cruise ship food is good, it can get a little bit monotonous to eat the same thing day after day. Getting off the cruise ship, even if you just go to one of the local restaurants, this can really be a little bit of a change of pace so you can stretch your legs out, and maybe instead of doing an excursion, you go to have lunch somewhere along with those drinks. Now, you might spend a little bit of money, but this is something that could be really enjoyable, and at the same time, it does help to support the local economy. Honestly, some of the best times that we have had in different cruise ports of call have been going to those restaurants at lunch or even for a late snack. Number 7. Now, this might be a little bit controversial, but there may not be as many things to do on the cruise ship as you think. Now, if you're on a super big mega cruise ship, typically there are more things to do on these ships. Maybe you just want to explore a little bit more. That definitely makes sense. But on most other ships, and even on those mega cruise ships, something that you have to watch out for is that things might be closed on the cruise ship, or even the activities, they just lighten a little bit. So if you expect the same pace as a sea day, all of the different activities to be offered, while there are things to do at a much slower pace. At the same time, you'll want to pay attention to the cruise planner and the daily schedule, and take a look at the opening and closing hours. We've been on cruise ships, even cruise ships with great onboard attractions, where they've been closed for certain hours when the cruise ship is in port, and it would be pretty upsetting to have missed a port day to stay on the ship to do those activities for them to be closed. You want to go to the casino or maybe shop till you drop. You just won't be able to do that on the cruise ship when it is in port. Now, in almost all cases, the casino is going to be closed when you're in port. All of the shops are going to be closed when in port. So if you plan on doing a little bit of shopping, you'll want to get off the cruise ship to do that, even if you want to buy some sunscreen or something like that. And even some of the bars are going to be closed down. In certain cruise ports of call, there are local regulations that only, for instance, 4 bars can be open on the entire ship. We've had that at some of the ports in Canada, New England, and some of the different ports around the world have different rules when the ship is in port, so this is something to know. You don't need to take a cruise line excursion. So port days do not need to be expensive. You have a lot of different options. You can take a cruise line excursion if you want. There's definitely a convenience to that. You can simply go online before your cruise and you can book that, or you can even book it on the ship. But there are also third-party excursions, and you can definitely do that as well. Now, the company that I have used is Shore Excursions Group. I find them very reliable. I love to use their website to choose my excursions. By the way, this video is not sponsored. However, I have worked with them before and I've done their excursions. I really do like them. I'm going to leave a link down below this video in case you are interested and you need more information. And you can also visit on your own. So research the cruise port, see if you can take a cab easily on your own, or even walk to a local beach. Or you can explore on your own. Now, in some ports, this is going to mean that you can take a hop on, hop off bus. Now, this is pretty common in Europe, a little bit less so in North America, in particular in the Caribbean. But when you're in the Caribbean, you can oftentimes walk to a local beach, or you can take a cab to a local beach. You can book an all-inclusive resort, or you can even make your own walking tour. The crew are going to be busy. So if you stay on the cruise ship, something that you are going to notice is, even though there are obviously a lot of crew on board, again, not all of the different venues are going to be open. So this could even include sometimes the main dining room for lunch that is often open on sea days. It may not be open on port days. As a matter of fact, often it isn't. Now, what are the crew doing? Well, they are doing safety drills a lot of the time. So they are really busy with some of the things that absolutely must get done. Revisiting a port. Now, sometimes people say, I don't want to go back to the same port that I've been to before. Now, I have a couple of exceptions. I have to say, I've been to Nassau a lot. So these days I've been staying on the cruise ship, but in many ports, and I still have gone to Nassau, by the way. Even last year I did a pretty good excursion. However, if you're revisiting a port, it's a good chance to explore more, especially if you already like it. For instance, I just love St. Thomas, so each time I go there, I can pick a different beach, I can pick a different excursion. For instance, we've done snorkeling with turtles, or we've gone to Honeymoon Beach, we've gone to St. John. So each time we go, we get to explore a little bit more. Now, beyond the travel experience, it's also an opportunity to take photos and to create memories that you can bring home. And honestly, they are going to last a lifetime. Now, I'd love to hear from you on this. Am I right or am I wrong? Should you stay on the cruise ship when in port, or should people get off, and when and where? Share your own stories down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Now, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give the video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Bye for now and happy cruising.